Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie, and today I'm so excited to be showing you Crack's upcoming collection called the Randos. These shades were previously created, or prototypes rather, that just didn't really fit in with any of the previous releases from Cracked, so she's just releasing them all together. I personally really love when brands do this, but I will save more of my thoughts for the end after some comparisons, along with some information on their upcoming sale. But for now, let's just get into these swatches. The first polish we have is O-Type Star, which is a dusty purple packed with blue Aurora shimmers. No surprise, I absolutely adored this one. It just has such a gorgeous, glowy blue shimmer. Definitely on the sheer side, as you can see here, but I feel like it did have really nice and even coverage. The formula was also very fluid and easy to work with. And despite how sheer it was, I think it actually built up pretty nicely on two coats. There still is a decent amount of nail line, but at the same time it wasn't as sheer as I was expecting it to kind of be, if that makes sense. Though I still did add a third coat just for some more coverage, and I just love how it looks. This is such a stunning shade. Here it is in more extreme lighting, so you can hopefully see that shift to like indigo, and I could see a little bit of purple in real life too. And here is my full hand swatch, which is just two coats in natural lighting. I personally think it looks really great here. Again, it has really nice coverage. It just is a little bit sheer. While my nails are short, I still do have some free edge, but I feel like it's just not super noticeable. Though of course you could always just do a third coat if you wanted to deepen the base color a little bit more. Next up we have Frolicking in the Fields, which is a lavender with a pink to orange aurora pigment and a gold to green shifting shimmer. Again, I absolutely love this one. I just am such a fan of this sort of soft lavender base, and I love the shimmer in here. I think it's just so pretty how all of the colors just come together in such a harmonious way. I found that this one was a little bit more on like the crelly leaning side, at least compared to the last shade. So again, it did have really nice coverage on the first coat alone. It's just very sheer, but it did build up nicely in two coats where, again, because it's like a little bit more milky maybe, it just provided more opacity. So here on two coats for my full hand swatch, I feel like you could see even less visible nail line compared to the last shade, but there still is a little hint of it, so it just has that very plush kind of feel to it. I absolutely love the shimmer in this one. It just shifts so beautifully, going from pink to orange to yellow. It just looks like a sunrise. Moving on to the magnetics, the first one we have is Lahar, which is an ash gray with a hint of purple and a copper to gold shifting magnetic pigment. Even though the magnetic shimmer is described as copper, I personally see it as very like red, or maybe like a red orange. Either way, I absolutely love it. It's just one of those magnetic shimmer colors that I think is so striking, especially compared to the more neutral kind of base. And the formula, as you saw, was a little bit on the jelly side, so even on two coats, I feel like it does look a little bit sheer. I did go in with a little bit of a thicker second coat, but if you tend to do thinner coats, you might need three for this one to just build it up, at least in the cat eye effect, because I think that's where more visible nail line is going to be noticeable compared to the velvet effect, where it's just more obscured because of that strong velvet flash. So again, I really do love the magnetic shimmer in this one, and while the base color is very pretty, I didn't love that it kind of had this like speckly, grainy look to it. And the other magnetic is Purple Party Monster, which is a rich purple with blue magnetic pigments, purple and hollow shimmers, and blue glitters. The glitters in this one look like they're little hexes that kind of vary in size, but they're mainly on the smaller size. This one had another really gorgeous, smooth formula. It was decently pigmented on the first coat too. It wasn't as sheer or maybe jelly leaning as the last shade. So because of that, I found that this one was more fully opaque in 2 coats. The shifts in this were also so stunning. It's definitely a very like multi-chromatic type of magnetic shimmer. I feel a little torn on the blue glitters because I love like the color, but I don't know, in a way I feel like they're almost distracting from the magnetic pigment. I feel like on some nails, especially on my full hand swatch here, I just didn't get that many of them either, so it just had this very like sparse kind of look. I think my ring finger turned out the best with the amount of glitters and the magnetic shimmer just like complementing each other nicely. So yeah, even though I think the glitters are cute in theory, maybe I just don't love it in this polish. I feel like the magnetic shimmer alone is just so eye-catching. They do stand out a little bit more in low light though. And finally, for the jellies, the first one we have is No Shrubs, which is the perfect name, and this one is described as a deep emerald green jelly. I can definitely see emerald being this color, but I would have just called this like a Kelly green. It just seems like that very true mid-tone sort of dark grassy color, which, as I'm sure you know, is not exactly my favorite shade of green. And unfortunately, I didn't have a great experience with the formula on this one. As expected for a jelly, it definitely was very sheer and fluid, but I just feel like it didn't self-level the best. So because it was just patchy on that first coat, you end up kind of seeing that patchiness come through on the second and even third coats, where towards the middle top of my nail, it's just very see-through, which obviously is the whole point of jellies, but I do think it looks better on 3 coats than it did on 2. For my full hand swatch, the first clip here, it just shows 2 coats and it looks pretty even. It is just a bit more sheer, which I feel like is kind of common when it comes to these like medium or darker sort of colored jellies. For some reason, those always apply the most sheer and streaky, so I would just recommend 3 coats anyway. And the last jelly we have is Back to the Fuchsia, which is a bright fuchsia pink jelly. Obviously, I knew I was going to love this one, and I actually had a better experience with the formula, where I didn't find it as sheer or streaky or patchy as the last shade, so it looked a lot better on the first coat here. Maybe not the most even coverage. I feel like for some reason the very center of my nail looked like it had more polish than the edges, but it did look like it evened out really nicely on just 2 coats alone, which is really nice. You can still see a hint of nail line, so it's just that classic juicy jelly finish. You could also do a 3rd coat if you wanted to obscure that a little bit more, but I definitely think this is like a solid 2-coat jelly, especially if your nails are shorter like mine. Moving on to comparisons, I wanted to quickly show O-Type Star next to Cracked Polish's Infinite Thrill and Ethereal's Lorraine, both of which are strong, glowy blue shimmers, but the base in O-Type Star is a lot more noticeably gray. So I thought it would be a bit more similar to Ethereal's So Chill from their collab with Cracked, but I forgot that's a little bit more of like a purpley gray base, a little bit more purple leaning than O-Type Star, and the shimmer is also more purple instead of blue, but I also had to see this next to Mooncat's To All Who Ghosted Me, which is a blue shimmer in a gray base. I would say that Mooncat is the closest, but not an exact dupe because it's a little bit more pigmented and the shimmer is a little less glowy. I was also reminded of shades like Fauve's Monet from the Impressionism collection, as well as LynB's Does It Get Eddie Vedder, which was a previous PPU shade. That one is a much lighter and more true gray base though. There's no purple undertone at all, and it's a lot more sheer as well, while Fauve is a little bit on the blurple side for the base color, and the shimmer is a lighter shade of blue. Next, for Frolicking in the Fields, I was immediately reminded of shades like ILNP's Lilac Bridges and Mooncat's After the Rain. I wouldn't say either are dupes, but I feel like Cracked is the in-between of these 2 shades. The base color is much more similar to ILNP, being that softer, dusty lavender. It's a little bit deeper or more saturated in Mooncat, like more blurple or periwinkle leaning, but the shimmer color matches more in Mooncat than it does in ILNP. Next for Lahar, I was immediately reminded of Mooncat's Like a Moth to a Flame or Night Owl's Windswept, both of which are these gray bases with this strong coppery red shimmer, but as you can see, those are just too dark, so instead I thought I could try to recreate Lahar by layering Hollow Taco's Scorched Earth over Don't Throw Stones, which is Cracked Polish's gray, but that one is just too light, and the only other similar shades that I kind of had were ILNP's Flicker and Pyro. Flicker is a lighter gray base with a more yellow leaning shimmer, at least head on. Pyro has the same shimmer as Flicker, but it's in a deeper, more blue gray sort of base, but it's still a little too dark to match Lahar, so I don't have any dupes. Then for Purple Party Monster, I was immediately reminded of Acidic Tears, so I will just be showing that one on the nail. I did pull out Wow initially from the Catchphrase collection, but that's like a little too deep and vibrant. Acidic Tears definitely has a more similar purple and aqua kind of multi-chrome shimmer going on. That one isn't magnetic though, and it does have a blue micro flaky as opposed to a micro glitter. Then for No Shrubs, you know I was going to show this next to Cirque's Kelly Jelly, which is their Kelly green jelly polish. I really thought these were going to be exact dupes, and they definitely are very close to the point that I don't think you would need both. If for whatever reason you were only planning on wearing these shades in 1 or 2 coats, I feel like the difference is much harder to tell apart, but on 3 coats is where you start to see a little bit more of the color difference, where Cracked is just a few shades darker. And for reference, here is No Shrubs next to Toronja jelly from the Jarritos collab, which I guess is not limited edition anymore. That one's a little too blue toned, so it's even less similar than Kelly jelly. And lastly, for Back to the Fuchsia, I of course have to show this next to Cirque's XOXO jelly, as well as ILNP's Malibu, which are the other hot pink jellies in my collection. Again, I thought these were going to be dupes. I mean, the Cirque and ILNP are pretty much close enough to being dupes, but Cracked surprisingly is a little bit different, where hopefully you can see it on camera the way that I can see it in real life, that it's just a bit lighter and slightly cooler toned. I feel like Cirque and ILNP are a little bit more red leaning. So that wraps up my swatches and comparisons for Cracked Polish's The Randos collection. As always, I'd love to know your thoughts on this release because I thought these were so gorgeous. I know these shimmers, especially like the first 2, are kind of familiar, where even though I didn't have like exact dupes for them in my collection, I feel like there probably is something closer from other brands like Ethereal or Great Lakes Lacquer. But that being said, I do think these are beautiful additions to their catalog. The same goes for the magnetics and obviously the jellies. I know Monique does the Jelly of the Month shades, but I personally would love to just see like a full jelly collection just to like, you know, build out the catalog a little bit more. But I am happy with these 2 new additions. I think they are perfect for the season, especially just paired together. They are like instant watermelon nails. So if you're interested in picking any of these up, they are going to be launching on Friday, May 23rd at 10 a.m. Eastern time, which is the same time that there will be the Memorial Day weekend sale. So it's going to be 20% off site-wide. There is no code needed. In fact, you can actually use my code to get an additional 10% off. As a reminder, I am an affiliate with Cracked, so if you do use my link and or code, I will receive a small commission, which just supports me and my channel. So a big thank you to anybody who does support me through that. But even if you don't plan on grabbing anything, of course, I would love to know your thoughts on these, your favorites, just any and all thoughts that you have down below so we can chat about it. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!